Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to go where you started at the very top about the legal. AEL. I want to ask you, you talked about advanced peace. You tell me, how this so-called Abraham Accord advanced peace in any way. I mean, in the last 2 years, we've seen Israel wage 2 major wars on Gaza. We see a war ongoing day in and day out in the West Bank. Last year was the bloodiest year for the Palestinians since the Second Intifada. And certainly the economic conditions for the Palestinians has worsened by a great deal. So other than just these guys getting together and maybe having good meals and drinks and so on, what have they done to really advance peace?
So a couple things. First, the Negev process really kicked off in earnest last year, and just last year. It was in March of last year when Secretary Blinken was in the Negev desert in Sde Boker with his counterparts. So this is a process that is relatively new. It is part of the reason why we're especially eager to have the opportunity to have these working groups constituted today and tomorrow in Abu Dhabi on the part of several dozen U.S. government officials and their counterparts from these other countries. But we've also been clear. This process is not a substitute for Israeli-Palestinian peace. We support the normalization of relations between Israel and its Arab and Muslim majority neighbors and countries around the world, but it's not a substitute. We believe, and we've heard from participants in the Negev process as well, that normalization can and should be leveraged to advance progress on the Israeli-Palestinian track. Secretary Blinken made this clear in March of last year when he was in the Negev. He said that we have to be clear that these regional peace agreements are not a substitute for progress between Palestinians and Israelis. He also noted in those same remarks how countries involved in the Abraham Accords and other normalization agreements, as well as those that have longstanding diplomatic relations with Israel, can support the Palestinian people, how they can support the Palestinian Authority in concrete ways and have a positive impact on the daily lives of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. And I don't have to tell you, Saeed, that there are several of these countries involved in the Negev process that are doing quite a lot for the Palestinian people. There are other countries that have normalized relations or have diplomatic relations with Israel who are doing quite a lot for the Palestinian people. The United States is doing quite a lot for the Palestinian people on a basis of people-to-people ties. But this is an ongoing conversation. And it's a conversation that we believe can and really must support our goal of Palestinians and Israelis enjoying equal measures of freedom, of democracy, and of dignity.
Well, I mean, those are fine words, But in fact, isn't this process aiding and abetting Israel into deluding itself that it's war with everybody else except for the Palestinians? Well, in fact, the war is with the Palestinians. It's not with the UK. It's not with Morocco. I mean, I can understand the transactional value of these accords and these agreements and so on. But in fact, for the accomplished peace, it's not there. And we've seen, like Oman was a country that was perceived as being probably the next place to normalize Israel, criminalizing any contact with Israel and that. So even on that track, they're failing. So, I mean, one can go on and discussing these things, but in fact, you have not. There has been not one step taken by any of these publics to really pressure Israel into easing its treatment of, making life palatable or giving anything that resembles equal measure.
So every time the United States of America engages with our Israeli partners in a substantive way, we discuss issues as they pertain to Israeli-Palestinian relations. We discuss the need to improve day-to-day lives of Palestinian Palestinian civilians. We discuss ways we can make tangible advancements, tangible progress towards a negotiated two-state solution. I don't speak for other governments, but having been at the Negev last March, I can tell you that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was a topic of discussion between other governments, the other participating governments in Israel. And I would suspect that in the talks that took place today and the talks that take place tomorrow in Abu Dhabi, there will be quite a bit of talk, including on the part of the United States, but also on the part of these other Arab governments, of the need to see tangible progress, tangible improvements in the day-to-day conditions for the Palestinian people. This is an opportunity to have those discussions, which itself is important.
That lastly, Israel slapped sanctions on the PA because it's turning to the ICJ. I wonder if you have any comment on that.
We have been consistent in our own strong opposition to the request for an ICJ advisory opinion concerning Israel. We've talked about that before, including last week. We believe this action was counterproductive and will only take the parties further away from the objective of a negotiated two-state solution. We are seeking both sides to take steps to move them closer to a negotiated two-state solution. We've also been clear that Israelis and Palestinians alike equally deserve to live in safety and security. They deserve equal measures of freedom, of dignity, justice, and prosperity as well. And we'll continue to encourage all parties to refrain from unilateral actions that threaten the viability of a two-state solution and the path towards direct negotiations.
So would you urge the Israelis to release the money that they held?
I'm sorry?
To release the money that they held? Some $40 million.
We have continued to make the point that unilateral actions that threaten the viability of a two-state solution, unilateral actions that only exacerbate tensions, those are not in the interests of a negotiated two-state solution.
You said that the Palestinian move was counterproductive, but what about the Israeli move? Not just on the money, but also on the cancellation or the revocation of the travel.
Well, this is part of the reason why we've opposed the Palestinian move when it comes to the ICJ, knowing that it could potentially only serve to increase tensions. That is exactly what has happened.
What you're saying is that the Palestinians brought this on themselves.
Matt, I'm not saying that.
I'm just curious as to why you say the Palestinian move was counterproductive, but you won't say the Israeli move.
This was a unilateral action that certainly doesn't seem to move us closer to a negotiated two-state solution.
Okay,
in fact, it seems to set us back.
Okay, so the ICJ referral was a unilateral move, but the Israeli response to it is not a unilateral move. It is purely a response.
I did not say that. I think it's fair to call it. I think it is fair to call it a unilateral response.
So you don't like it.
It is fair to call it a unilateral response. We discouraged publicly the Palestinians from moving forward with this ICJ opinion because we didn't want to see tensions exacerbated.
The Israelis from taking punitive measures in response.
We have private discussions. We have private discussions with our Israeli partners as well. It is clear that these steps have served to exacerbate tensions. This is not in the interest of a long-term negotiated solution.
Which steps, though? Just
we're talking about both. We are talking about both. Yes.